From comedic trophy wife to a psychologist dealing with their own relationship drama, today's focus of Oscar Rewind is a first time, and again, long time overdue nominee. We are in season 3 of Oscar Rewind, and today I am looking at Universal Pictures' Bridesmaids. Written by Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo and directed by Paul Feig, the film was a May release in 2011 and just celebrated its 15th anniversary with select screenings across the US. In fact, that anniversary was 2 days ago on the 13th. What's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike here, and it is a new episode of Oscar Rewind, where I look back at the films of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these throwbacks. We have some really good ones coming. We're in Chapter 2. It's breakout performances. This chapter focusing on the early standout roles from some of this year's other nominees, those performances that help define characters. And today's spotlight is for the delightful Rose Byrne. Now, while Bridesmaids wasn't her first big role, it did introduce us to a new star in the making who has made quite an impact on both screen and on stage. I can say I've seen both. If you've never seen Bridesmaids, here is your quick spoiler-free setup. Childhood best friends Annie, played by Kristen Wiig, and Lillian, played by Maya Rudolph, are at very different points in their life. Lillian is engaged and preparing for a new chapter, while Annie is quietly falling apart. Her business has failed, her love life is a mess, and financially, things are not exactly thriving. Still, when Lillian asks her to be the maid of honor, Annie jumps in, determined to make her best friend's wedding unforgettable. This proves easier said than done. As Annie tries to organize the perfect celebrations, she finds herself battling insecurities, personal chaos, and the arrival of Helen, played by Rose Byrne, Lillian's polished, new, shiny best friend, who seems to be challenging Annie at every moment. See the very entertaining toasts at the engagement party. Add in an unpredictable bridal party that also includes brash Megan, played by McCarthy, overly ebullient newlywed Becca, played by Ellie Kemper, and overwhelmed mother Rita, played by Wendi McLendon-Covey. And what starts as wedding planning quickly turns into a series of increasingly awkward, chaotic, and hilarious disasters, all threatening Annie and Lillian's friendship, such as one very upsetting dinner at a fascinating churrascaria, and also a fun little sojourn to Vegas for a bachelorette party. This film, I have to say, it's uproariously funny. It truly is a masterclass in comedic acting from this immensely talented group of women. Each one plays a trope and leans into it, and where that could be seen as a negative, it actually works because each one is bigger than the next, and ultimately all of them complement one another in a perfect chef's kiss of a movie. Wiig and Mumolo, longtime collaborators, they knew exactly what they were doing when crafting the script and were okay with showing that women can be just as crass as their male counterparts, especially in the comedy genre. Again, I referenced that famous churrascaria scene. Paul Feig certainly understands ensemble comedies. He's strongest with them. He balances things where every character has a moment to shine. Even if they aren't significant in a scene, they have that moment where they become unforgettable to you. Rita talking about her children, Becca talking about Disney, almost any non sequitur that Megan has. However, next to Wiig and her meltdown at the center, Byrne is an excellent foil. She presents Helen with an assured calm, and even when she gets upset, she represses it so much that the back and forth between them is a delight, and you can't wait to see where it is going to go. Now, at the time of release, Wiig and Rudolph were pretty big breakouts from SNL, and while the breakout narrative in the film centered around McCarthy, who had already built a lengthy career, Byrne was always the performance that I gravitated toward. You know, they say dying is easy and comedy is hard, but to have to play the deadpan comedy, that is the real hard part. And Byrne, in my opinion, executes this flawlessly. So much so that a few years later, when McCarthy and Byrne would team up again in Paul Feig's comedy Spy, she gets to lean into that element as well. She is a force and really understands character and nuance. And that's the thing about this film. Broad comedy doesn't always land. But here it does because of the lived-in moments this film beautifully portrays between the laugh out loud or gross out comic moments, which are a delicious treat as well. I know I usually dig into craft elements as well in these reviews, and this film is nice enough to look at. The dresses here, yeah. But this one, it's all about the performances and the execution. While there are a couple of moments where things get a little bit repetitive or unnecessary, and also a subplot, I can't believe I'm about to include them here because I love them both so much. Rebel Wilson, Matt Lucas, please don't come for me. I love you both. But here I felt your subplot was not necessary and took me away from the stronger story at the center. Now, let's talk about box office and awards. This film was a juggernaut and currently sits with $169,525,235 domestically and $119,635,696 internationally for a worldwide take of $289,160,931. Critically, the film sits with an 89% tomato meter from 293 reviews and a 76% popcorn meter from over 100,000 audience reviews. Award season-wise, the film ended its season with almost 100 nods and wins, including 2 Oscar nods, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress for McCarthy, same 2 categories it was nominated for at the BAFTAs. McCarthy was a supporting actress nominee, and the whole cast was also nominated for Best Ensemble at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, now simply the Actors. There were 2 Golden Globe nods, Wiig for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical, and a Best Picture Musical or Comedy nomination, and it won Best Comedy Movie at the Critics' Choice Awards, along again with nods for Best Ensemble and Supporting for McCarthy. Look, Bridesmaids is one of the perfect comfort movies. Is it a perfect film? No, but it is a hell of a fun ride. I give it a very solid high 4 stars, with 5 stars for the performers. But the film overall is 4. If you need a rewatch, it is currently streaming on Peacock. However, if you can, find the unrated version. Still messy in places, but there are a lot of other joyful moments you get from these women in that extra 7 minutes or so. And that's it for episode 14 of season 3 of Oscar Rewind. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments, what's the funniest scene in Bridesmaids for you? Please follow me on all social media platforms and Letterboxd, and check out my website, cinephilemike.com, for more exclusive cinematic content. I'll see you for the next rewind, but until then, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.